Lawyers for Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, have shared with the High Court that he has faced a sustained campaign of attacks for having the temerity to stand up to the publisher of the Daily Mail. We have a lot to get into, and The Guardian has the latest, so let's get started. Thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'll be sharing an update with the latest from The Guardian regarding Prince Harry's lawsuit against Associated Newspapers. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video by hitting the thumbs up button. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And if you feel so inclined, please feel free to share so that more people can find us over here on my channel. Once again, this information is coming to us from Michael Savage with The Guardian. He writes, the Duke of Sussex believes he has faced a sustained campaign of attacks for having the temerity to stand up to the publisher of the Daily Mail, the High Court has heard. Lawyers for Prince Harry made the claim as they set out 14 articles about him they allege were secured using unlawful information gathering by Associated Newspapers, which publishes the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday. Prince Harry could now appear in court on Wednesday to give evidence, a day earlier than expected, as he and 6 other prominent claimants attempt to disprove the newspaper group's repeated and vehement denials that it ever engaged in unlawful information gathering. David Sherborne, the barrister representing the Duke and other claimants, claimed flight details and sensitive information that had serious implications for Prince Harry's security had been obtained unlawfully. Quote, in his witness statement for the trial, the Duke of Sussex speaks of the impact which this has had on him, the distress, the paranoia, and the other feelings that it generated, Sherborne told the High Court in London. But given what we've seen, is it any wonder that he feels that way? Or, as he explains, that he feels he has endured a sustained campaign of attacks against him for having had the temerity to stand up to Associated in the way that he has done so publicly. The Duke's concern about his treatment emerged as Sherborne set out key parts of the case against the publisher. He highlighted articles he said bore the hallmarks of unlawful information gathering. Now, y'all prepare yourself, because some of this information, it had me hot under the collar. Some of this I was familiar with, but they get pretty granular with some of the claims, with some of the information they claim was obtained unlawfully. And I would love to know, if it wasn't unlawful, then how did you obtain this information? Because there was no way to know some of this stuff outside of just simply making it up. So let's continue, and then you'll know when we get there, because I have a lot of thoughts. Prince Harry was again listening in court as his defense team highlighted some of the 14 articles relating to his claim. The stories were published between 2001 and 2013. That is a huge chunk of time. Most contain the bylines of either Katie Nicholl, a former Mail on Sunday royal correspondent, or Rebecca English, the Daily Mail's royal editor. One article, which cited a family source, not surprised, revealed Prince Harry had been chosen as godfather to the child of his former nanny, Tiggy Legg Bourke. Sherborne said no one in the wider family had been told, including King Charles. Nicholl has said the source could have been Elizabeth Anson, a cousin of the Queen who was 40 years older than Legg Bourke, or the socialite Tara Palmer Tompkinson, both of whom have since died. You'll notice that as a recurring theme here. A lot of the people who have stepped in to defend themselves and decided to defend the publisher and their tactics, etc., a lot of these royal correspondents and quote-unquote journalists, if you can even call them that, they always say they got this information from people who you will find are now dead. There's no way to dig them up and ask them. So you'll notice that as a trend, they'll almost always say, oh, I got it from this person, and that person is no longer with us. I just refuse to believe that these people who were close to the end were just like, let me tell you what I know. And they had verifiable information. They are literally laying these claims onto dead people. They are posthumously vilifying these people as if we didn't already know. They didn't have a soul to even be doing this to Prince Harry and the other claimants. But the fact that they are using dead people as scapegoats is even more disgusting. It's just like they cannot find a bottom floor. They're going to continue to dig deeper and lower and lower and lower. Other stories contain details of Prince Harry's relationship with his former girlfriend, Chelsea Davy. Y'all, this is where, like, literally I had to take a moment because there's so many things to this. Now, before I read you what was obtained and what they're talking about in this part of the article that was discussed in the High Court, I just want to remind you, Prince Harry is present. Not only is Prince Harry present, but there are a lot of people in the courtroom. He is also fully aware that this will go on public record. This is part of history. This information that he has to sit and listen to in front of the world was obtained about him unlawfully. And even if it were obtained lawfully, it shouldn't have been obtained at all. And I feel bad for him for having to have experienced this in real time, but then to have to sit and listen to it now. This is humiliating, and it's not even me. And I feel the humiliation. I'm so glad that he's able to just, hey, I got to deal with it. This is part of the process. But my God, my heart goes out to him and Chelsea Davy, who is somewhere in private living her life and knowing that this information is out there and she's involved and her name keeps coming up. And none of this is due to any action on her own behalf or Prince Harry's. How unfair to them. I'm going to try to get through this, but listen to what was discussed in the High Court. Shame on everyone involved. Sharion told the court that the private investigator Mike Baer had been paid £200 in cash by English for a, quote, Chelsea Davy tip, which included Davy's exact flight details. That's bad enough, but they keep going. Sharion said another article published in 2010 contained, quote, specific and intimate details of Prince Harry's private life. Here's where it goes downhill, including his preferences of where he likes to spend the night. He said that the details could not conceivably have come from a legitimate source. Some things should just be private, and you are literally entitled to privacy when it comes to certain topics such as that. That is between you and your partner, both consenting adults and of age, and that should just be your business. And even if the way they came about that information was lawful, maybe they, were interviewed a roommate or an upstairs, downstairs, adjacent neighbor, whatever the case was. However you got that, it should be illegal regardless because of the nature of the information. Because if Prince Harry or Chelsea Davy didn't share that themselves, that's none of your damn business. And then on top of that, even if Prince Harry or Chelsea Davy had shared that, it's still up to the other partner to consent to that being released. So on so many levels, they have violated these people's peace and safety. That is just disgusting. And he had to listen to this in the courtroom. And this is going to be a 9-week trial. My heart goes out to him. In a written submission, Sharion said Nichols' evidence was that her indirect source for the information concerning Davy had been the late Garth Gibbs, an elderly retired journalist who lived alone on the Isle of Wight with a cat and who left South Africa in 1966, 20 years before Miss Davy was even born. That is who Katie Nichols said she got this information from. Again, another dead person. This is what, 3? He said the explanation stretches plausibility and is to be dismissed accordingly. However, a written submission for Associated Newspaper said Nichols was given information by Gibbs from a source who was, quote, good friends with Davy. She would also likely have run the story past some of her other confidential sources, it said. I also want to point out, in addition to always blaming the dead person, that's kind of their go-to, they have a lot of would have and should haves and probably and likelies, but nothing is definitive. I need you to tell me where this came from, sweetie. You're in high court. You're not at a local diner saying what may or could have, should have, would have, could have happened. You need to say where you got this information or pay up. That is my issue. They have a whole lot of, it's plausible that, and it's likely that, and she certainly would have. We can't hang our hat on anything these people say because they're doing illegal things. So we can't say what they likely would have done. We need evidence of what they did do. We need evidence of who they did get this information from. We need definitive statements. Let's continue. Associated's legal team said in written submissions that the stories have been obtained entirely legitimately from information variously provided by contacts of the journalists responsible, including individuals in the Duke of Sussex's social circle, press officers and publicists, freelance journalists, photographers, and prior reports. Pause right there. Oh no, we're going to continue, and then I have something to say about that. Anthony White, leading Associated's defense, said the Duke's social circle was and was known to be a good source of leaks or disclosure of information to the media about what he got up to in his private life. I want to pause there. The time period they're discussing is from 2001 to 2013. Prince Harry was very young, and so of course his cohorts were also very young. They may have evolved and become better people with better character now. I don't know, but I'm speaking of back then. Prince Harry was at the intersection of a lot of things that we now know. We know that he was being hounded by the press. We know that people were lying on him, were leaking against him, and there were people in his not only social circle, but familial circle who were also leaking against him. He was taught and trained to be quiet, to allow it to happen and allow the royal family and the firm to take up for him, which they did not do. They sold him under the river, or sold him up the river, and they threw him under the bus. Here's why that's significant here. So often we talk about articles that just pop up out of nowhere, and we know that a big portion of those are to deflect from things that are happening with the royal family. But a lot of times they'll use the old shtick of Prince Harry stopped being friends with a lot of people when he met Meghan. Meghan has isolated Harry from a lot of his friends. Meghan doesn't allow Harry to hang out with these friends. I've always had an issue with that because, again, it's the blame the angry black woman thing. It also infantilizes Prince Harry, all of which are untrue, unfair, and unsubstantiated. But then in the same token, you hear things like this from actual journalists who published horrible things about Prince Harry, and they're saying, no, we got that from his social circle. So how is Meghan at fault when he cut y'all's asses off? Because I can guarantee you, if I find out you're talking to reporters behind my back, I'm cutting you off whether my wife is here or not. But this happened between 2001 and 2013. It is completely plausible to believe that when he realized that he was a scapegoat for his family, he completely scanned his entire life and every contact he has with that lens and said, you know what? I've been the scapegoat in this toxic cycle for a long time. And I have in some way become tolerant of this behavior because I thought it was normal. The way people have been treating me is not okay. How else are other people how are other people treating me? How else have I been tolerant of this kind of behavior now that I know it's not okay? Whether my wife has helped me to become enlightened or not, which is a benefit, that's not an insult to her. If you really believe that Meghan coming around helped Prince Harry to become enlightened, which he did say himself that her existence in his life helped him to grow up and mature in a lot of ways, but it also gave him a keen eye on everything around him. We broke down Spare. He credited her with helping him to become enlightened and seeking mental health therapy and mental health, all of which helped him make more solid decisions in his best interest and for the betterment of his health and well-being. She was a key figure in helping him become the man he is today. I would wear that as a badge of honor. That's not an insult to her that she helped her husband become the best he could be, and vice versa. That's what you do when you're in a partnership. But that's not the point. The point I'm making is, as Prince Harry became aware of how he was being treated within his family, I have no doubt in my mind that he turned around and looked at his social circles and his work contacts and everybody in his life and said, have you also been benefiting from me being wired this way? That happens a lot. Quick anecdote. I read a thread that I related to and I shared it about this woman who said when she met her boyfriend, her toxic boyfriend, it shed a light on how her family was toxic as well. Because the way her boyfriend spoke to her, the tone of voice he used, the way he would rush her and eye roll her and belittle her and put her down. When her mother pointed out, like, you allow him to treat you that way, she realized, you don't treat me all that different. And then she scanned her life. And when she became enlightened to how she was allowing this man to treat her, she also realized a lot of people treated her that way because she had been desensitized to it. She'd been conditioned to tolerate it. So when a partner came in and treated her the same way that her family does, people who are supposed to love her, she wasn't ringing the alarms because this is life. This is how people act sometimes. That is one that just shows how abuse cycles continue to perpetuate even when the main or the first abuser is no longer present, how the victim will continue to end up in situations where they are victimized. That's why, because of conditioning. But also, if Prince Harry himself recognized that his family was leaking against him and he realized something needed to change about that, you don't think he also made that same decision for his social circle? And then when we have evidence like this saying, yeah, his social circle was known to sell him up the river and throw him under the bus. And then y'all have the nerve to also publish articles like, why did Prince Harry cut off all his friends? First of all, every time I see Prince Harry, he's surrounded by happy people. They're living it up, partying at his house. They're hosting dinners. They're going to events. They have a lot of friends. What you're failing to mention when you write those raggedy articles is that he cut off toxic people, deceitful people who were just like his biological family. When he became enlightened, he changed his life. That had to come with a change in scenery and a change in people. His whole circle changed, because when you know better, you do better. And then when you have journalists who are asking, why did he cut off his friends? It must be Meghan's fault. But then they turn around and tell the high court, oh, well, they were leaking against him. You just answered your own question. Stop blaming Meghan and tell the truth. Y'all were helping these people abuse this man, and you're mad that he stopped the running fountain of information to you. So you're not mad at Meghan for that anyway. You're jealous of her, but you're not mad at Meghan because you think she intervened. You're mad at him because he wised up and he stopped allowing people in his life who were sucking his soul dry. The fact that they actually said his social circle was known to be a good source of leaks or disclosure of information. I never want to hear anyone write another article about why Prince Harry's social circle changed. It should have changed a long time ago, but y'all had him conditioned to taking this BS. I thank God that he has wised up and he is protecting himself from these vampiric souls and entities. I can't even call them souls because we know they don't have those. Anyway, sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to go left, but that really bothers me when they say Meghan is the reason he doesn't have friends. Meanwhile, every time we see Harry and Meghan, they're surrounded by loving people. They just don't have the friends you want because those friends don't leak against them and lie on them. Anyway, addressing the court, he said the claimants were clutching at straws in the wind and seeking to bind them together. He said they were asking the court to equate the payment of a private investigator with proof that unlawful means were being used to secure stories. White said it was striking that Associated had almost a full roster of journalists lining up to give evidence addressing the allegations against them. I mean, what else are they going to do? It's not like they work. He said the fact that so many would appear, including the longtime Daily Mail editor Paul Dacker, speaks volumes about the culture at the publisher. I mean, okay, the culture isn't what we have a question about. It's their behavior, the types of actions that were normalized to get information for stories. He said the claimants have provided very little evidence about unlawful activities carried out by private investigators paid by Associated's journalists. 14 articles doesn't sound like little evidence. He also said in the majority of cases, there was nothing linking the payment of a private investigator to either the content of a story or the journalist that wrote it. They need to have evidence of where they were getting this information from. They need to have evidence to defend themselves. If you are going to stand by what you wrote and stand by your actions, you need to prove to us that what you did was lawful. I mean, I think that's pretty easy. He also said much of the claimant's evidence of unlawful activities was drawn from evidence in previous cases against the publishers of the Daily Mirror and the Daily Sun. So basically he's saying, well, we were found guilty in those situations and they're trying to reuse it. Don't find us guilty again. It doesn't work like that. He said the evidence should not be permissible in the case against Associated newspapers. For the claimants, Sharion attempted to deal with a claim from Associated newspapers that had waited too long to make the claims, stating each had found out they had a serious case against the publisher after October 2016, the cutoff date for legal action. He also said the allegation that the claimant's legal team had engineered watershed moments to ensure the action could be brought was as offensive as it was misconceived and untrue. The trial continued. Thank you so much for watching the SharionSade YouTube channel. I appreciate you watching my content. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video by hitting the thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And don't forget to comment along the way. If you feel so inclined, please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Now let's get back to the video. I want to start off my final thoughts with this. I have mentioned my mom and her life lessons a couple of times. Y'all know my mom is a Virgo and one for the dramatics. But something that she imparted on me that I still value to this day is she did not allow me to bullshit her growing up. Now, I could kind of get over on everybody else. I could never get over on my mom. Not that I attempted to a lot, but if I was getting in trouble, I knew that if my grandfather was mad at me, I could just smile at him and give him a little hug and say he was the best granddaddy in the world and give him a baby voice. And he was old. I knew that I could just remind my dad that I miss you sleeping at our house at night and I wish you and mommy would get back together. And I knew he couldn't stay mad at me. That's so toxic. Y'all, I was a toxic child. I knew that if my sister was mad at me, I could just say, you're the best big sister ever. I wish I had another big sister just like you, or little things like that. I would play to their egos. But with my mama, not only did I already look like her, I am also a Virgo like her. And she often comments how I'm a lot more like her than pretty much anyone else. Growing up as a child, pretty much identical kids. So she knew what I was going to do before I did it. And the reason I'm sharing this is because she used to say this thing of, if you do something wrong, which you will inevitably do, just tell me. If you mess up, just tell me. If you make a mistake, just tell me. If you do something with the intent to mess up and just didn't want to get caught, just go ahead and tell me. It's going to be worse for you if I find out from the streets, if I come across the information on my own, or if I catch you. And if you dare to cover it up with a lie, I will never trust you again. That information has stayed with me my whole life. When I make mistakes, I'm quick to say, yeah, I did that. I'm sorry. When I do things that aren't right and then it blows up in my face, I say, you know what? My energy was off. I kind of deserve that. Now go on about my business. Doesn't happen often, but it's happened. And when I make errors and someone asks me about it, I'm not going to say, no, it wasn't me. I'll say, yeah, it was me. I apologize. Here was my understanding. Can you help me understand? Can you inform me? Should I have done it differently, etc.? I own it. And the reason for that is because my mom taught me to be accountable. That is a lesson that has stayed with me my whole life. So when I could BS other people, like when I threw a golf ball and broke my granddaddy's window, or turned on the lawnmower and let all the gas run out, and also put a stain in his garage and he was wondering who did it, I let him think my cousins did it. The list goes on. You kind of see I was getting up to stuff. I didn't have enough toys at my granddaddy's house, so I was acting a fool. The point that I'm making is I could get over on pretty much anybody but my mom, because she was always several steps ahead, ingrained in me that being accountable was noble. And it said a lot more about my character, and also the fear of it all, because I never quite understood what she meant by it's going to be worse for you, and I'll be damned if I find out. I feel like that's a lesson every child should learn, because becoming an adult, the stakes are so much higher. You may think that your behavior or cutting corners or beelining to something instead of going the scenic route or doing things the right way, decently and in order, as Brother Foster would say, do all things decently and in order. You may think that cutting corners and taking the short route, etc., that, oh, it's not going to hurt anybody. Or, yeah, I'm doing this. I know it's wrong, but he's a royal. He won't feel it. Or, yeah, I'm doing this. I know it's wrong, but she's not going to care. She's not going to see my article in a sea of thousands, all saying the same things, each equally as or worse than the one before it. You might get over on yourself by playing down your actions and your wrongdoing. But you don't get over on life. It always comes back. And when that boomerang comes back to your doorstep, it comes back 10 times worse than when you sent it out. And I share that because while this may be uncomfortable for Prince Harry to have to hear, while this may be extremely unfair, and it is for everyone involved to have to deal with, the people who have to live with this, when this truly hits them, the type of turmoil and pain and destruction that they have caused, when that hits them, whether that's on their deathbed, when they don't have a whole lot of time to do other stuff and they're just laying there thinking, when they're alone, when they've inevitably pushed everyone in their life away, or when they think they're about to have a big win and suddenly everything blows up in their face. However this makes its way back to them, I hope they recognize it will come back. The best thing you can do is stop, turn around, be accountable, and make amends. Now, do I know that they won't? Yeah, I know that. These are not the type of people who would do something like that. These are the type of people who would rather pay on the back end rather than the front end. But as Funky Dineva, aka Quentin, often says, you're either going to pay on the front end or the back end. I would rather pay on the front end. I would rather be upfront, be accountable, admit my wrongdoing, and move on with my life with my integrity and my character intact, rather than wait for people to catch me in a high court, call me out, and put all my business in the streets. And then what? I'm unemployable. My reputation is garbage. And then I've made some really bad enemies. So whatever comes of this, Prince Harry will be fine. The other claimants will be fine. Whatever comes of this, they have their integrity and their souls intact. And that is actually not something that you can take away, no matter how hard you try. But you've already sold your soul. No amount of money is worth that. While my mother was getting on my nerves, telling me that if I lied about cleaning the bathroom when really all I did was throw everything on the counter into a drawer, splash some water on the countertop, pretend I sprayed the Windex and go outside because she said I could go outside when I finished cleaning up, while I thought I could get over on her, walking back up the stairs, walking into that house and seeing her waiting with all my cleaning supplies and saying, now do it right. and then I don't get dessert, and I barely got dinner because I was cleaning for hours and hours when I should have been enjoying a movie with my family and eating with my family, taking a nice warm bubble bath, and then going to bed at a decent hour where I got restful sleep, and then I woke up fresh in the morning. Nope, I was cleaning until 10:30 p.m., well past my bedtime, because I didn't do it at 1 o'clock like she told me to. And had I done it at 1 o'clock like she told me to, I would be in bed happy with a full hot belly and having had some dessert and a good movie on my mind. And every minute that passed as I was wiping down that countertop and she would come in and say, again, or sweeping with the broom that was twice as tall as me, and she'd come in and say, you missed a spot. Or when I was washing the floor mats and she'd come in and say, put it on the wrong cycle, you gotta wash them again. Maybe you should do it by hand. Now I know why she did that. Because when the thought crosses my mind to do something underhanded or overstep or try to get away with something, I realize I'm going to pay on the back end, and it's going to hurt that much worse. So again, like I said, this was wrong as a day is long. These people are now defending actions they know were unlawful. I'm not surprised. That's the type of people that they are. And whatever the outcome is, Harry and the other claimants absolutely deserve justice. Let's make that very clear. And they have experienced lots of pain and suffering because of this. And are they being extremely courageous by fighting this? You damn right. But what I will say is, regardless of the outcome, which I do hope it is justice being served, but regardless of the outcome, they still have their souls intact, their integrity, their character, priceless aspects of who they are as a person. And the rest, the other people, the accused, I'll call them the accused, they don't have that. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I cannot believe they are discussing some of this stuff. I mean, hey, it's necessary. So I'm not condemning the High Court or Prince Harry and his team or the other claimants. I'm just discussing the fact that I can't believe those are things that they were reporting on. And mind you, Prince Harry was extremely young. It's wrong regardless, but these are very young people, teens and early 20s. My gosh. I'm so glad that I've never had to deal with being famous or being in proximity to a famous person to where my image or my likeness or my business was out there. I feel like most people go through a very train wreck phase of life in their early 20s and late teens. And I am no exception. It wasn't bad, but it was just like, I needed time to get my stuff together and figure out who I was. And as an adult now, I look back and I know that time was needed and it was well spent. But damn, I'm glad it wasn't on the front of a newspaper, especially under a salacious headline. My goodness. Anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. My heart goes out to everyone involved on the claimant's end. And I'm so proud of them for standing up to being bullied and abused. That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share so that more people can find us. And I will see y'all next time. Bye.